been in office since 2010. Married to his wife Wendy for 35 years.
40 years this year.
40 years, okay. 40 years this year.
She put up with me for 40 years. I can't believe it.
He graduated from the University of Utah with a degree in business management and marketing. Enjoys meeting the citizens here in Washington City. Loves hearing what they have to say. It's really interesting. I love quotes, and there's a quote board right outside the door here. If you didn't get a chance to see, I saw a quote on there that said, "Do something today that your future self will thank you for." And I think that applies to our cities here in the area. We have to make some tough decisions and choices now so we can thank ourselves later for the choices we're making today, because growth is happening, and that's probably one of the biggest issues you'll be talking about today. Making a difference in people's lives is one of his great passions. Enjoys all sports, but his favorites golf, bicycling, basketball, and softball. His greatest priority is his family, and knows that our families are an integral part of our community, and works every day to make sure Washington City is a great place for families. I would now like to turn it over to Mayor Nielsen.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Washington City, and welcome to our community center. If you have not been here, we spent a lot of years with this project, with interviewing our citizens and asking them, what do you want to see in Washington City? Where do you want a gathering place? And this is the result of it. We are very proud of it, and we have folks from everywhere in the county that come and utilize this facility, and we're grateful for that. Thank you so much for coming. I know you can be somewhere else, but we appreciate it. We appreciate all the things that you try to do in your personal lives, individually, with your families, in your neighborhoods, and your communities. We at Washington City, I just want to, if I may, speaking about quotes, okay, I drink this drink, okay, and inside the lid, I'm not going to tell you what it is, and it's non-alcoholic, okay, so don't get too worried about it. But inside the lid of this, they have these little sayings, and this one has always caught my attention. It says, "Be the type of person you would like to meet." Think about that. Be the type of person you would like to meet. So let's talk about Washington City in 2020, and as Buzz Lightyear would say, to infinity and beyond. Okay, we're going to start off with our power department. In 2020, we had, just like all of you, we had a really fun experience starting in March when everything was shut down, and these things became extremely popular. What I find very funny is these are now the trash we pick up on the, you ever notice that? How interesting. These are the trash we pick up. So our power department in 2020, if I may, we built 2 substations. One Parkway substation, brand new one up in the Green Spring area, off the new Parkway, to start and to service all that building that's going on up in the Green Spring area. If you've lived here a few years, you'd notice that we're kind of exploding in Washington City. Well, I'll show you some numbers later, but we have the Parkway substation, and then we remodeled one that's right next to my house. It's called the Staley substation, and we were grateful for that, to have that. So the thing about power is I'm so glad that I can flip that switch and we have it. You know, there are countries, folks, that they can't do that. So we're grateful to our power department for what they do and what they continue to do to keep, you know, Washington City is on 2 power systems, which you all probably know. Washington City has their own north side of the river, and then it's Dixie REA, if that's what, is that what they're still called? Dixie Power, south of it, okay. Moving on, this year we finished a great project in Washington City downtown. It was our Main Street project. Those of you that have driven up and down it realize how great that little road is. what was really interesting is after we finished that, 2 days later is when we had that huge rain. Remember that? So, being me, at 11 o'clock at night, I got in my car and went up and down it just to see if it was working. Worked perfectly. It worked perfectly. And a side note is we had a lot of consternation and concern with residents on Main Street. And I'm related to half of them. And so, the mayor gets the calls. And most of them were like, why are you doing this? This is terrible. You're going to destroy our community, blah, blah. 2 days later, after the rainstorm, you are a genius, Mayor. I can't believe what you did here. The only concern these residents have is that Main Street kind of goes like this. They're afraid somebody's going to fall on the rocks. Okay, so we have a couple other roads that we've completed. The Washington Parkway. A lot of you have seen that from Maverick to Green Spring Drive. You've seen that. We've completed mostly 100% of all that, and it's been a really good asset for those in the Green Spring area and north to utilize, because you all know that in our county, especially Washington and St. George, it's a nightmare sometimes to go east and west, right? And sometimes north and south. But we've got to address it, and we have that challenge that you all know about. So we have our Washington Parkway, and thanks to our IT staff for putting this together, because I think they've done a fantastic job. Merrill Road expansion. If you go down Washington Fields Road, then you want to head over to Lynn's and that area, which is not in our community, but we really support them. We support you St. George businesses. So. We've made a nice road, Merrill Road, and we've expanded that, and that's completed to, 20 East? Is that right? To 20 East? Does that sound right? Okay. Do we have any other roads? I guess we could be Back to the Future, and we don't need roads. That would be kind of fun. We do have, in the future, we will have a road expansion, 3650, where the new temple is going. We're going to expand that over to SR7, but that's something in the future. So that's our roads. Okay, our other departments. Let me hold that just a minute. I do want to give a kudos to our Public Works Department, because they're the folks that if you have a problem in your street, sewer-wise or drainage-wise, right, these are the folks that go out and do that. I think that, they make sure our lights are on. They make sure that when you flush, it goes somewhere, okay? And yeah, I think you give them a big hand. All that, the roads and all that. I just want to give a kudos out to our power department, for our Public Works Department, for that. We have expanded our services where you get your business license. We've got that online now. You can go online and input your information and get your business license. Just FYI. I've personally had the opportunity of signing every business license until this year, because we went ahead because I got carpal tunnels. We did about 1,600 business licenses a year that I signed. A lot of them were renewals, but we've had several. I think we're up to about 40 new businesses in the works so far this year. So that's a great tribute to the area, but a wonderful tribute to our city of Washington. So we appreciate those that want to do and have business here in Washington City, and I'll let Matt inaugurate all that with his expertise. We have a new city manager. We've got a new city manager in 2020, Jeremy Redd. Jeremy, would you stand? Jeremy hails from Blanding, Utah. Was the manager there for 8 years? For 8 years, and as the treasurer for too many years before that, right? But we welcome Jeremy. We're glad to have him here. We're glad to have him as our resource And we did, also, we received a new city council member, Roger Bundy. We had one council member who left, took another opportunity, and Roger Bundy came on board. We also introduced an arts council into Washington City, and Deborah Bice is the president of that, and we're glad to have her here and in Washington City, and we look forward to getting more culture, because I need it. Maybe nobody else needs it, but I need it. All right, growth. Let's talk about growth. We're at 32,978. When I lived in Washington City as a kid, it was 500 people. I always tell this story. Telegraph Street was I-15. My brother and I used to throw a football over Telegraph Street because we lived right off Telegraph Street. I still do. And in between cars, okay? So you would think, okay, that's I-15. Sometimes it was 10 or 15 minutes before a car would come over. And then we'd do the fun stuff, and we'd get pecans off our pecan tree. And that's probably my father. Excuse me. It is my father. He's 89, and he fell. And, you know, so I have to make sure that I take care of my father. So we're growing. We've grown since I've been mayor, about 1,000 to 1,500 a year. And that was 2010. I think last year we hit 2,500. Folks, that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of people. You think about that, that's a lot of cars. That's a lot of additional traffic. And it's a lot of wonderful people like yourself that have moved into this area, probably seeking for something better and something new. And we should appreciate that. Okay? Building permits. We hit 686 building permits. 588, 18,716. Look at that, folks. These aren't just numbers. These are people. You know, these are people that are buying homes in our communities. Thank you. I just have to go, wow, from 500 people to 32,000. Thank you, Steve. Let's move on. Our parks. We have built some incredible parks, folks. I think you've hopefully have been partakers of going to these parks. We just opened up the Boilers Park, the old Warm Springs, as we called it when we were younger, up north of Main Street. We opened that up. It's been a very historical event for us at Washington City. You know, we started in 1857, and the folks that came down in 1857 were really worried about having something to drink, I'm sure, coming to this desert. And they found the boilers. And we have several wells throughout our community that I use because it's irrigation. And so we have the boiler park. We had the Canyon Park over there off Telegraph, affectionately known as Hellhole. Okay? And that's a unique park because it's an obstacle course and you can run a 40-yard dash. It's been a lot of fun, and if you can even get onto the park, it's a lot of fun to go to. I went down those slides. If you haven't gone down the slides, that's like Thunder Mountain at Disneyland. Okay, it's really, okay. We've expanded the Virgin River Trail. There's Mayor Pike and I going at it. And our trails we've updated, our Boilers Park. We'll just take a minute and look at these. I'm yelling at somebody there saying, quit taking pictures. See, that's a natural spring, 72 degrees, natural. There's 5 springs in there, and it's fresh water every day. And then people in the community use it for irrigation. So that's our city councilman, Doug Ward. He knew how to flip, does a flip. See, there's some of the other mayors that came over and enjoyed the grand opening with us. But it's a beautiful park. We have a pickleball courts up there, and there's an old tunnel that went through there under the freeway. And when I used to go through it, sometimes there were rattlesnakes in there because it's a cool place. It was really kind of weird. But I think we've cleaned them out, and we have security cameras there now, don't we? So, but it's a lot of fun. All right. That it? Well, let's turn the time over to Matt Liu and give him a big hand. You know, Matt graciously accepted the assignment to come to Washington City and help us grow. And all I can say about Matt is I have to hold on. Because he just goes and goes and goes. Matt Liu.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it. We'd like to especially thank the St. George Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. We appreciate what you do for our businesses in Washington City. Sorry, I'm trying to put this battery in my pocket. And we appreciate you being here. Just real quick, there's a few of you here in the audience that are employees of Washington City. If you're employees of Washington City, raise your hand. Don't be embarrassed. You know I was going to pick on you. Chief? There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Like every place else, Washington City is experiencing growth. That's kind of the telltale for everyone. We currently have about 174 full-time employees and 289 part-time employees that work hard every day to do the amazing things that we're being able to do. I kind of wanted to touch different places, kind of take you a tour. Washington City created a position, Economic Development Director, a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, of which I was fortunate to step into. And I kind of wanted to give you a tour of some of the things that have happened here the last couple years, 2-3 years. We'll start on exit 10 and kind of work our way. I'm from Hawaii, sorry, that way. What is that? North? East? Okay, east. That way. I just know island, around the circles, ocean, mountain. She can't get lost. Anyway, so we'll go on exit 10 and we'll start with a new hotel that we haven't had a hotel here for decades. The Spring Hill, which is, again, those of you who have been there, they did a great project there. They also have another pad just below that for another hotel, depending on marketing and the marketplace. So that's kind of their plans, to have 2 hotels there and some commercial center opportunities. And if we were to go down the road east, past Borders Park, the city has some property, about 14, 15 acres of property at the intersection of Buena Vista and Main Street. We're looking at doing some things there. We've had some fun interest from a couple groups that are looking at doing a family amusement center. So that's kind of been geared there. And then we are going to make our way to exit 13. What you see here is a 3D version of one of our bigger projects that we've been working on for about a year now. This is called the Sienna Hills Auto Mall. The developers of this project made their initial introduction at the Economic Summit. This is a high-line or high-end auto mall. We're looking anywhere between 12 and 15 different dealerships or brands. And that's kind of an exciting piece for us. Obviously, those of you that's in my business understand that our whole purpose is on sales tax. And there's really no greater, resource to generate sales tax than auto malls and Costco. So I couldn't steal Costco from St. George yet, but I'm still trying. There's always Sam's Clubs as well. Anyway, so that's kind of one of the fun things that are happening in exit 13. There's a lot of stuff happening in exit 13, and we'll probably click to another slide. Those of you that are familiar with the area, there's a Best Western that is probably about a week away from receiving their certificate of occupancy. They want to try and get done before the President's Day weekend. It'll be close, but nevertheless, they're still moving forward. That project there, the Commerce, you can see that. That's a Dean Terry. That's his property and his partners. So the Best Western is on the far end here in the bottom. And then you've got Turables. And the spot just right here, it's parcel 3. That's another pad for another hotel that they're working on that they are going to try and start building in about 2 years. That's kind of their time frame. If you notice up front, parcel 9 and 10, right now that is carved out or earmarked for McDonald's. Parcels 7 and 8 and Arby's, and parcels 5 and 6 Dutch Brothers. So that's kind of what's happening in that little section there. Below the hill, he's also building I think a 217 parcel RV resort. And to the north of that, I believe, he's looking at doing a commercial center. He wants to put in a grocery store, and he's got 2 right now stores that he's chatting with and talking through. Next. This is kind of the area shot of the whole exit 13. Talked about the Audemars, talked about what's going on there at Dean Terry's parcel. This one's kind of fun. Signal Peak, Sitla, who owns the property and works with the developer there. They've called their vision their Signal Peak Health Village. That is where we are, oh my gosh, we are in the tail ends of final negotiations of locking down a hospital that is not IEC. So it's not IEC, and it's not a nonprofit, it's for profit. So it'll be kind of fun. Once we get that done, again, we're within weeks of getting that finalized. So that's exciting. And then above that, if I can go to the next slide, there is a 570-acre mixed-use residential piece that Sitla also owned that they awarded to W.W. Clyde. They're the same group that's developing Desert Color. Their vision there is kind of cool. In fact, it's very cool. It's a high-end resort residential theme. They're looking at putting a 5-star resort tucked up against the Red Hills. And then there is an 18-hole short course, par 3s, par 4s, that's a certified. That'll be wrapped throughout the development, and there'll be some exclusive gated communities, hopefully. What their vision is and what they're saying is this will probably be pretty, one of the more, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I think for some of us, most of us, it's a bad thing. It will be probably the most expensive real estate in the area. Bad thing there. Good thing for Washington City, property tax. So there's always an upside. Okay, flip it over. Thank you. As we go down towards the fields, this project is a 16 multi-sport soccer field complex right now in Stookie Farms. That'll cover about 55 acres. We are in the final agreements there on a use agreements with the city. That will, again, bring a lot of visitors, a lot of activity, and a lot of growth as far as sales tax and rooms. Until we build more hotels, we'll share it with St. George. But that's kind of an exciting project there. Next. This one's kind of fun. We've been working on this for a couple years. This is some property that borders St. George City that's next to the airport. This is a conceptual design of a test track, racetrack type of a use. And then there's a 78-acre drainage basin that we're figuring out a way to monetize that resource or that asset. The other option is put grass in it and make it a park, which is fine. But if we can figure out a way to hold events and generate activity and events and people, that might be a kind of a, maybe a, I don't want to say a better use, but a different use that can help us, again, create more sales tax there. You see the bigger square there, that's probably about a 4.5 acre skid pad where you can, again, hold other events, and working with our police department and other law enforcement agencies in the area, possibly use it as an EVO track, a training track. Currently, the only training track in the state of Utah is in Camp Williams. So this might be another option for us in southern Utah. So that could be a kind of a fun use there. You want to click? This is just a quick video of what this area might look like, or this track might look like. Again, there is about 3 different groups that are currently looking at this site to do the same thing, stay with the vision. One of the groups are here, they're here in town today. They just sold 2 industrial parks up north, and they've got money to burn, from what they tell me. They've got $60 million in their pockets that they need to invest somewhere. And they're looking for 100 to 200 acres to create some type of industry, some type of industrial use. We went with the automotive testing and recreational industry just because we didn't want to compete with everything else that we have in the area. So we've got industrial manufacturing at Fort Pierce. We've got Tech Ridge up at the old airport. We decided to go a different direction to try and create more interest and more opportunities for our area. And that's all I got. Thanks.
We do have quite a bit going on in Washington City, and we are grateful for that and grateful for that interest. Just to wrap things up, I used to go to this, it's called the ICSC meeting in Vegas every year, and it's everybody that finances projects, and everybody that's anybody throughout the world goes there. And we were talking to a development group, and this was in 2010 when really, not a lot was going on. And one of the gentlemen I was talking to, when I introduced myself, he says, you know what, you probably, Mayor, have the most valued or most looked at real estate south of Provo to Las Vegas, exit 13. And it's taken a few years, but it looks like it's going to start coming to fruition. We're very excited about that. I wanted to talk a little bit just before I close about our fire department and our police department. Our fire department this year, remember when they had the fires in Oregon and California, we sent a team down there to help them out. And there were some pretty horrific stories down there that they were sharing with me. And I want to give a shout out to our fire department, because we were one of the only Utah groups that went down and volunteered and went down there and got in harm's way. We have about 16 full-time, 15 part-time, and 9 volunteers in our fire department. And we have 9 more completing some training. The chief was hoping that they would be able to come on board. 2,281 calls last year for service. That's about 6.5 a day, folks. 17% over last year. Our police department, Chief, will you stand? Did you come on board last year, or was it the year before, or 2 years ago? How long have you been on our chief now?
Since April 1st, 2019.
2019. Boy, time goes. You know what? Those folks have our back. They have our back. We have 30 sworn officers and 40 total support staff. Chief Williams was telling me this was the busiest year ever since we opened up in 2016. 10,661 calls. They responded to 10,298 incidences. Folks, it's a lot of work. That's a ton of work. They're making sure that we're safe. And I hope that we never, ever forget that. No matter what politics tell us throughout the rest of our country. One of my biggest goals is to put the unity back in community. I think it's important. I firmly believe that we should all have differences of opinions. I firmly believe that. That's healthy. That's progress. But we can do things unitedly. And so I'm going to introduce an initiative for Washington City, and I would challenge the rest of the cities and the county to take it. Anybody golfed? Does anybody golf? It's the funnest sport in the world, and it's the most frustrating sport in the world, okay? Have you ever heard the term lift, clean, and place? Do you know what that means in golf? Okay, in golf, it means in the wintertime, if you hit the ball down the fairway, usually you're in the mud or that, and you get mud on your ball. Okay, mud on the ball may not seem like a big thing to you, but it could take 30 yards off your distance and your direction. Okay, so the tours and the UGA, blah, 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 okay. You're allowed to pick up the ball, lift the ball, clean it, and place it, okay, at a better location. So I'm going to introduce lift, clean, and place in our community. I'm going to challenge the HOAs. I'm going to challenge the neighbors. I'm going to challenge the church groups to lift up the trash, place it in the garbage bag, or clean the area and place it in the garbage bag. We as a city are committed to keeping our city clean. You've noticed, haven't you? You look, the areas we've had some issues with that. I saw a guy take his lunch meal from a fast food restaurant. I'm behind him, okay? He was eating it while he was driving. He takes the bag and throws it out. They used to do that in the 60s, okay? We got to stop that. We've got to stop that. Let's lift, let's clean, let's place. The challenge is there. Any organization that wants to come into Washington City, we will provide your bags, the gloves. We'll give you a mask so you'll be COVID friendly. And God bless us when that gets done, right? But may I end with this. There's a Christian song that says, "Have I done any good in the world today?" I hope you know that song if you're not. But I'm going to change it. I'm going to say, have I done any good in my home, in my neighborhood, or in my community today? God bless all of you in what you try to do in your lives, because it's good. You're good people. Don't let anybody tell you you're not good people. The things you're trying to do are good. To better yourself, better your family, better your community. That's what it's all about. It's not that Mayor Nelson's this great mayor. Okay, after I die, I'm sure that whoever up there sees me says, "Wow, you were a great mayor." No. He's going to say, "What did you do in the world today? Who are your neighbors? Who did you serve?" Washington City is committed to be a community of service. Again, God bless you, and thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. I do believe you want us to have question and answers, and the answers are no, no, yes, and no. So have a great rest of your day.